Hi, David.
Morning, Kai. Well,
Morning.
almost afternoon for you.
Yeah, late morning. Yep. Oh,
Doing this, we got at least one other person that I think is going to join us, one of the producers, if you don't mind.
okay.
And,
Yeah, no, of course. No problem. No problem.
and this is my first Zoom meeting to actually have scheduled. So I didn't
Oh,
realize
right on.
as a free subscriber, I guess, on Zoom, you're limited to 40 minutes. And so I will get the institutional access after today, but unfortunately for today, we've got 40 minutes, which I think is enough time. And so it allows you to be free after 40 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, with Sea Grant, so I assume you probably will have access to our accounts too. We have four Sea Grant accounts, and there's an extension account, and then there's another account that's like general Sea Grant, or I think it's called Sea Grant Research. And then there's two sort of administrative ones that the two Darrens, sometimes they let you use them, but most of the time they're just sort of like reserved for the higher up kind of meeting. But most commonly, Cherie and I both use the Sea Grant extension account.
Okay, I'm sure Austin has an account for Sea Grant Guam, so I just didn't, having not done a meeting before, I didn't know that they put that initial time limit, but I think we're all good with that.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that our producer is connecting to audio. I'm not sure what system he's on, or if he's on a cell phone or anything. So I've invited some of the producers, and then Austin and Fran and a couple other guys that work on the aquaponics system, as well as some other programs. So we'll see if they come in, but we'll go ahead and get started because I don't want to lose our precious 40 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
thanks for having us anyway. So what I was explaining to you a little bit in the beginning on the email that it's really getting difficult. I didn't realize it would be this difficult to order directly out of China. The prices are just so much better that to me it was worth trying it. I've done it before for my personal stuff and gotten things in. Shipping is horrendous, but because the price of the item is so low, it kind of offsets it, and you still get a better deal than you would on Amazon or any other place. But these were such large items, we'd require an entire 20-foot container to bring it all over, which is not a problem. We have a freight forwarder here that can handle all of that. It's the purchasing office at the university that is kind of a stickler on a few things. And the biggest thing was when they asked me to get a copy of the business license of the company. The company sent the business license to me, but it was all in Chinese.
Oh.
And I would have thought, well, that's not a problem. There's so many people on campus that are of Chinese origin or descent that they can read it, but that wasn't good enough for them. They wanted it. So instead they said, well, why don't you have them fill out this 8-page form, which the company was not willing to do. Morning, Frank.
Good morning. Morning, Dave.
How are you?
Half a day.
I'm doing well. Thank you. Half a day.
You guys, this is Kai Fox. Everybody calls him Kai. He's the aquaponics guru out of Hawaii. And so we're going to get some precious tidbits from him today. And anyway, enough of the Chinese connection story. Let's go ahead and go with what you've got, Kai. What we're looking at, really, because of that kind of whole difficulty of getting items in, we're just going to build it ourselves and go with something that will last us at least 5 years, and see what results we can get from that.
Sounds good. Yeah. So real quick, I'll just give you a real quick short summary of this project. So this was an extension system. It was built with extension money initially in 2012. We've since modified it, but the idea was to make it sort of demonstration scale, so it's like small commercial scale, and it's worked really exceptionally well over these years, and it's lasted. Yeah, I don't know if 8 years is. I think it was probably 7 years before we had to change out the wood. Finally, kind of gave out on us. But we're starting to do some economic analysis on it, and it certainly paid for itself, at least with our materials and labor. And we did a bunch of variety trials on it. It is a solid media system, though, like I explained to Dave. So it's not a raft system, although I think you definitely could modify it. You'd have to add some kind of filter, solid settling thing. But yeah, so initially it was meant to be, it's a 1,000 gallon fish tank system. We have two systems, so I'll show you both of them. They're side by side, bench, same thing. 1,000 gallon fish tank with 6 8-foot, 6 4x8 plywood sheets length, which is so 48 feet, right? 6 times 8, 48 feet. That was the original size of the system. So it was a 1,000 gallon fish tank, 4 foot wide, about 12-inch deep grow bed, 48 feet long. So that was the general dimensions of it. We stocked the fish at pretty high density. It was close to probably 3 to 4 pounds per gallon, or like, what is that, 30 to 40 kilogram per cubic meter, I think. So it was pretty high density fish. But with that amount of filtration, that amount of 50 feet, basically grow bed of rock, of volcanic cinder, it's worked like a charm this whole time. We really haven't had to do much maintenance or anything, and things grow like crazy. So what I'm going to show you is what we did was we modified the original system. I'll just point it and talk if that's okay. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so this is one of the systems here. So you can see this is these are plastic grow beds. So we ended up modifying the system. And please stop me if I'm moving around too fast, making you sick. I haven't really done this kind of thing before, so I'm just gonna kind of walk. You can see now these grow beds are actually a little bit bigger. So now we have only 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of 6 4x8. So these grow beds were a little bit bigger, but you can see the damage eventually that happens with water damage. This is where one of the bulkhead fittings came up. A little bit of water damage, a little bit of, actually you can see some looks like maybe termite damage too. So over time, but again, this is 2012, it was originally built. Some of the pictures that Dave saw initially, and I'll send you pictures of the setup and the original setup. But we had it on these hollow tile blocks originally. We had built it up with hollow tile blocks. So when we modified it, and the system was actually quite a bit taller, it was more waist height. So since then we've dropped the height of the system to only, I would say it's about 18 inches here off the ground, and we've used these 4x4 posts to support the weight. I'll take you underneath. Well, basically just 2x4 ribs as support. Are you guys seeing this?
Yes.
Is that okay? Okay. So yeah, basically just a table, a really strong table is all you need with support. I think these 2x4s are on 16-inch on center. And then this is a 3-inch PVC drain, and you can see the grow beds drop down into a common drain. So I'll take you back over here to where we can see one of the drains. So this is the bulkhead is even with the bottom surface of the grow bed. So right down here, right? And we have, this is just a plastic pot that we cut the top off of, and then we drilled a bunch of holes in there. I don't know if you can see that. Bunch of holes.
Yeah, we can.
And that's just yeah, to exclude the media. And then the water just kind of goes in. And so then if you see down here, right, you can see the bulkhead, the bottom of the grow bed there.
Uh-huh.
And then it just extends down into the drain. So this side of it, that's pretty much all it is. It's pretty simple. And so all of the grow beds come down into this common drain, this 3-inch drain. And the reason for that is we have it on a bell siphon, on a large external bell siphon. We started doing this at Mari's Gardens when I was working at Mari's Gardens. So on a commercial scale, rather than trying to put bell siphons in each of the individual beds, or kind of evenly spread out through the system, what happens if you try to do that is you get off timing. So for instance, this bell siphon will trigger and that one won't. So you have a variable height of water throughout the system and it throws everything off. So it's much better to have all of the grow beds drain at one time and then have the big bell siphon go off and drain, and then all of the tanks fill up. So all of the grow beds are filling up and draining at the same time. So here's the water coming in from the fish tank. Real simple, just a ball valve. You want to have ball valves on if you have individual grow beds, just because sometimes you want to harvest a grow bed and or do maintenance on it. And then you also want to be able to balance the pressure coming from the pump so that you get an even flow. So I'll take you down to the end of this grow bed here. You can see we've built in a kick out right here.
Uh-huh.
That's just so that we can completely drain all the water out of the grow beds if we need to. And actually, we just recently did that, so I'm glad we put this. I'm glad we put this in here, right at the lowest point. And then if you follow, I'm gonna go over to the fish tank over here. So this is the bell siphon. Oh, it's just about to go too. So I'll explain it, but I also want you to see it as it triggers. So this is a 1,000-gallon fish tank. We've got Chinese catfish and a species of tilapia in there. And then we have, this is the bell siphon. So the drain comes up here. I also put this in here just so that I could drain the lowest point in the system too, just a small valve with a uniseal, if need be. But the 3-inch drain, so this is the drain coming from the grow beds, right? Coming from the grow beds, it goes up into this barrel. And can you see the opening down there?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it feeds into there. I'm not gonna play with the bell siphon right now because it's about to go. I want you to see it when it goes. But basically, there's a standpipe. So this 2-inch pipe over here comes into the barrel, and there's a standpipe in here. This standpipe, the maximum height of this standpipe is basically the bottom of the grow bed. So when the water drains out, it'll drain to the bottom of the grow bed and then it'll start filling back up again. But it's just about to start. It takes about 20-25 minutes. So I want to make sure I capture this for you guys, so we don't have to wait again in case we miss it. But do you guys have any questions right now while we wait for this? It's almost ready to go.
I'd like to see the breakdown of the bell siphon after
Yep.
after it goes through its draining. But I think right now,
Yep.
let me welcome Benny in. So I saw you just came up on the video. Benny,
Today,
he's one of our producers. Morning, Benny.
so let me just show you also while we wait for the bell siphon. So you can see the water is slowly increasing as the water builds up over the bell siphon. So this is a 2-inch drain for the bell siphon, and then we have a 4-inch PVC pipe as the bell siphon. So it's a very large external bell siphon. but it's able to drain that entire system all at once. Yeah, it's just about to go. You see it kind of kicking up a little bit. And then this is the pump down here. This is I believe it's a 1,200 gallon per hour. Oh, there it goes. So you can see the siphon just started. So this is all the water coming from the grow beds right now, draining out. And you can, so it adds a lot of oxygenation to the system. We actually just recently added this air stone in here only because we were worried about, we had a load of tilapia come in. I wanted to just make sure that there was enough air, but you really don't need this aeration in there with this amount of water flow draining out the tables. But as soon as this stops, I'll go through the sort of anatomy of the bell siphon there. But you can see, again, this pump. Can you see the pump?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so the pump, and then we have a true union fitting here, just so that you can, easily take it off and maintain the pump if it gets clogged. And then basically it just goes underground here, it's right there, and heads out to those grow beds. We have a companion system here. So these grow beds are another whole aquaponic system. So like I said, we basically have two, and there's the fish tank for that system over there with the other bell siphon. So as soon as this thing kicks off, it should be pretty soon here, but you can see it kind of spitting, kind of choking as the air brake, as it sort of reaches the air brake, and it'll cough a few times and then eventually just shut off. And these things are relatively easy to construct. The hardest part really is getting this uniseal fitting, getting this pipe through this 3-inch pipe through this uniseal fitting. It's really a chore. You kind of just got to get on top of it and put some dish soap around and bevel the edge of the pipe so that it slips in there. You got to kind of wrestle it a little bit, but that's really the hardest part of the whole thing. You can see the bell siphon is kind of spitting here. It's almost done. We can look inside. You can see the water level that it drained down to there. See it? You can see it sucking. So that is just below the level of the grow beds out in the, and you know what I'll do is right after this, I'll run out to the grow beds to show you the water level out there. Can you hear it kind of slurping?
Yeah, I can hear the air. Yeah, air leaking in.
Yep, right. So it's almost done. I'll go out to the grow beds real fast so you can show you that they're basically empty now. So this is the start. So you can see they've basically drained the entire. So these grow beds have periods of maybe 10 minutes where they're completely dry. So you get really good aerobic bacteria growth. So yeah, there it just stopped. Now I'll show you this. So this is a 4-inch bell siphon over a 2-inch standpipe. So again, the standpipe is at the level just below the level of on that side, just about there. And the water fills up. This is about, this scum line here is about, I don't know, 5 inches in height maybe. So the ebb and flow of the system is about that much through the cinder bed, about 5 inches, and then it completely drains out. But yeah, basically, this is all it is. It's just a cap, 4-inch cap with a pipe, and then we just put legs on it to keep it up. There's no reason for the entire bell siphon to drain out, because really all we want to do is just drain out the grow beds. So that's why it's set at that height.
Kai, if I could, on that bell siphon, how high above the standpipe is your cap? Or how tall?
Yeah, so right.
Cover?
Yep, that's a good question. So it's basically just even with the cap itself. Right at the base of the cap is where it starts.
Okay, so
and we did put a little bit of Oh, sorry, go ahead.
You know, you've got about an inch and a half or 2 inches
Yeah.
between the top of the standpipe and the top of that cap.
Yeah, right. I think it's about maybe 2.5 inches about. Yeah, there's that. Basically, that whole cap is empty. It should be with air.
Yeah.
And then you can see I did put some zip ties down here, and that's because with the amount of pressure that comes through this tank, this thing starts to kind of rock and roll a little bit, and you don't want it to dance all over the place. You want it to be kind of straight up and down. So we just put this on there to kind of just keep it in line, keep it restricted like that.
Okay.
So yeah, basically you're going to be, for your barrel, you're going to put 2 holes in the bottom. One is going to be this 3-inch one straight down from the camera. That's the drain, right? Coming from the grow beds. And that pipe comes up. It doesn't matter what height that is. I mean, it has to be shorter than the standpipe, obviously, but it can be even with the bottom of the barrel. And then the standpipe is the tricky height. I mean, that's the trickiest height that you have to deal with. You have to just make sure. I mean, we kind of did it by eye, and we were a little conservative with it. We just said, okay, look, we know that this is below the grow beds. If you want to get super exact, I guess you could run a plumb line or run a laser line and try to get exactly. But we just kind of eyeballed it. Again, it's easier. It's easier if the bell siphon was right. If it was over here physically, because then the closer it is to the grow bed, the easier it is to kind of adjust everything. But because we have a road here, we had to kind of sneak it in under the building over there. So again, but it's modular, right? You can kind of tweak it however you want. You can kind of fit it in whatever space you have. So you guys have any questions on this? I was going to show you one other system.
On the on your plant to fish, you have a particular ratio?
So basically you can see this, these plants are getting kind of nutty. We call this mamaki. This is for tea. I don't know if you guys probably have something like this in Guam. We use it for tea. And then you guys know this, right? Kava. I'm sure you guys have this too.
Yeah.
These things are going bananas. There's no fertilizer. This is all fish water. Basically, we just pack it in. There's no, the nice thing is, even without plants, the water is like this. It's just clean because there's so much rocks. There's so many rocks, so much filtration, that you still get the conversion of the ammonia to nitrate, and it doesn't really bother the fish. You can run these systems without any plants for the most part, but you can definitely, you can see how full this system is, right? I mean, this is one system, these 5 grow beds. The other system that I showed you was kind of light just because they've been harvesting. They harvested another big ava plant the other day. But yeah, I mean, you can see here just by eye, we don't have any numbers, I guess is what I'm saying. we just try. But definitely, we've done, and I'll share with you some variety trials. In a grow bed like this, we've done like Chinese cabbages, like pak choi, at least as close as you would do it in the ground. So, I mean, whatever you do in the ground, you can at least do it in this, if not closer.
So Kai,
I guess is the answer.
What kind, do you put any additives in for the plants?
No, the only thing, so for seedlings, for leafy green seedlings like pak choi or lettuce, we will in the seedling mix, we'll make a plug, and I'll send you the information on this too. We make a plug with 50%, you can either use coconut coir, the coir, either use 50% coir, 50% vermicompost, like worm castings, or 50% perlite and 50% worm casting. You really want the worm castings in there to give you the boost when they're seedlings. But if you're growing strong, healthy seedlings, and then you put them in the aquaponics. They don't really need supplementation after that. And then you know, plants like the walla, the sweet potatoes, and the kalo and stuff don't seem to really get nutrient deficiency. And we're actually really excited about the ava, about these guys, because we've been able to get really amazing growth out of the roots, you know, the harvestable section. And you end up with, like, you don't have to clean it very much because we're using the cinder. We're going to start doing some experiments with actually putting the coir in there as the media and growing the ava, just because that'll be even cleaner for harvest, right? Trying to make money off this as a crop. It's a pretty high value crop here. Anyway, that's one thing. Ted my colleague likes to use it as an incubator for plants. So you can just literally put potted plants in these things and just let them kind of, you know, just let them flourish and then take them out later and transplant them. So almost like a nursery system sort of idea. So it's really versatile. I think you can see that in this other system. I'll show you. Yeah, you saw some of these these breadfruit plants kind of in just pots. So this is what we use this side of the system a lot for, is just kind of holding genetic material. You just kind of put them like coconut, right? These are dwarf coconuts, whatever. You just kind of put them in there and you don't have to worry about them for a while. You know, they're just kind of living. And definitely with the sweet potato, you know, just to produce vegetative material like that, so you get slips so you can plant. If you have a good variety that you like, this is a great idea, is to just put them in the aquaponics, and you're not trying to get potato. You're just trying to get vegetative material to plant your field, right? And you can see, obviously, it just goes crazy. And there's several different varieties in there. Anyway, just different ways that we use it, you know, how we use these systems, I guess, is what all I'm saying.
Okay, Kai, what about the cleaning aspect? Is there any cleaning maintenance? And
oh, sorry, and one other additive. Yes, not much in terms of cleaning. The only other thing we add is you can see some there's a bag over here. See this bag down here?
yeah.
So that's coral rock. It's about 3/4 inch coral that we mine locally. And I would say there's about, you know, maybe for this 1,000-gallon tank, there's probably 20 pounds of it. You need that in there. Don't use smaller than that and don't use bigger than that. That's the perfect surface area size to keep your pH stable.
Okay.
That mediates your pH. So that is really a critical addition. But once you put it in there, you don't ever have to change it or anything like that. You just put it in one time, and it's good. So yeah, you definitely want to put a coral buffer in there. As far as cleaning, so this was the tank that I think I sent you that picture with the tractor pulling the ava plant out.
Yeah, yeah.
So this was the grow bed that it came out of. And basically, you know, that's it. There's a little bit of rubbish here. You can see that's ava root. But other than that, you know, there's not much to do with maintenance with these kind of systems. I think part of it is that this is actually a really big grow bed and filter system for that volume of fish tank. I think the ratio is good, but we probably could even actually add another couple beds to these systems and still get vigorous plant growth. But it's not, I feel like we just lucked out on this kind of sweet spot, because it doesn't build up the solids really. We do have worms in here. We have composting worms. Let me see if can find those. Which I think help a lot with breaking down some of the solids. But let's see. Yeah, you saw that guy? Where'd he go? Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got these red wigglers that live they usually live right, oh yeah, right there. They live right at the, the zone where there's rubbish to kind of break down.
Right.
So they kind of do a pretty good job of keeping it manageable. It's really the fish waste, the solid fish waste is the stuff you have to worry about. And like I said, I think we don't have much of a problem. We did change the cinder out. I would say we changed the cinder out when we changed the system from the large wooden grow beds to the plastic grow beds.
Right.
But that was, again, 6 years, 7 years after.
How would you compare the deep water system, the raft system with the media bed?
Yeah, so it's hard to say. You mean, so like these kinds of plants, a lot of these kinds of plants grow a lot better in the media system rather than the raft. So I think, leafy green stuff grows fine in this system. But it definitely grows well in the raft system as also. I think the raft system is easier. So from a commercial standpoint, so I used to work at Mari's Gardens, and the difficult part about like lettuce in solid media like this is the cleaning. Because right, you'll end up like you'll go through and you'll cut all the lettuce heads off when you harvest. You're cutting the lettuce, packing them, taking them out. Then you have to pay someone else to come back and pull out all the roots systems of the lettuce and then kind of shake those off and kind of, you're losing some cinder here and there. So the labor side, if you're going for high turnover leafy green vegetables, I think raft is better. It's just easier on a managing level on a commercial scale. But if you're growing stuff like, for instance, what they were growing at Mari's also, which was a huge seller, was beets and some kind of crop, root crop like that. Yeah. The cinder is better, and then definitely ava, some of these other plants too. And then the nice thing about the cinder is you have sort of your grow bed is the filter, right? You don't have to have another like bead filter, a solid acetylene tank, degas tank, that kind of stuff, right? It's sort of really simple. It's just rocks and fish. That's pretty much it, right? So I think it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off. You are going to run into more, I think, labor in terms of harvesting leafy green vegetables in this system. Yeah.
Are the I watched the video on YouTube from the Maui facility, and they didn't put any additives into their system either.
Huh.
No fertilizer. That's what they were saying, and I thought that was kind of strange because they're running a raft system. I
know they don't put fertilizer in, but they probably put iron, chelated iron.
Yeah.
And they probably put because I know their system is based off the Virgin Island model, and I know the Virgin Island model adds potassium hydroxide and calcium hydroxide, right? Alternating weeks. And when I visited their facility, they did have they call it the base additions tank. So it's a place where they put the concentrated hydroxides, and then it just sort of dribbles into the system slowly, so that you don't get a huge spike in the pH, right?
Right.
And then it's kind of dangerous for the fish when you do that. But I would imagine that they probably add at least iron, and if not, those other two supplements. What we find again with this solid media system is that you're building soil. So a lot of the stuff becomes available over time. So the older the system it is, the more nutrients are kind of bioavailable. But in the beginning, you definitely have micronutrient deficiencies in leafy crops for sure.
What about, is anybody running a decoupled system?
Oh yeah, I can show you. It's kind of a mess right now, but I'll show you real quick. Let me just show you this other last addition that we're putting on here. So we had a bunch of tanks over there with they were sort of individual aquaponic systems with 2 of these grow beds attached to each of them. And it was more of a community outreach thing and you know, just to show large backyard systems, but it became really a logistically kind of a nightmare. Pumps were failing and all that, so we decided to kind of consolidate all the grow beds, and now we're just going to do the same thing. So we had those 2 systems you saw over there. Now we're going to have a third system over here using this tank submerged. So the general principle again is the tank is the sump, the fish tank is the sump, it's the lowest point, and then we've basically just kind of refurbished these tables to hold these plastic grow beds. So we're going to have, I think it's 8 of these tables feed into this, and we're going to build another external siphon just to kind of keep it nice and tight there off the road again. But just to give you an idea of the kind of tables that, you know, this is just all 2x4, right?
Right.
I mean, you can go this is just this easy. And I think this is probably over engineered. You know, with the 2x4s, you probably go less than that, but it is that you can just build it that simply. And then, you know, obviously you don't want the wood touching the ground because it's going to rot. So
Right.
just to get it off the ground, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, let me show you this coupled system in the jungle over here. So we're about to build it. So you can, yeah, we're running short on labor right now, but you can see these, we have papaya tree, you know, avocado trees. So this is an orchard with various papaya, avocado, different citrus you can see kind of off in the distance. And these are all irrigated with fish water. And I'll show you that. This is our decoupled system. So this is the sump. The rest of the tanks are in this greenhouse over here. So basically, we're taking water from the sump, running it through a bead filter, and then it feeds into this greenhouse. Actually, this is the tank where we have the giant gourami. See, whoa! I just scared them. I don't know. They're kind of shy. Let me try to sneak up on the other tank. I have one more tank over here, green giant gourami. See if I can go slowly. I scared him again. Kind of hard to see him. Anyway, so these are 6 tanks that are all connected. The drain. This is the common drain here, right? The 4-inch pipe goes out, spills back into the sump, and then it gets recirculated. And we got tilapia in the rest of these. And then what happens is we haven't completely set it up yet, but I'll show you what we're gonna do. Right now, we just pulse the water out. So we'll do a water exchange and the water just goes out to the field, but we're gonna set up this high pressure pump on a timer with a filter. So this is gonna be the intake into the sump. So it's gonna take water from the sump over here, feed it through this disc filter, and then push it out through drip tape into our orchard out there. Does that make sense?
So you're
So
isolating the fish water or the fish water into those new tanks to aerate it?
So
and
that,
then yeah.
so that that setup I showed you back there with the high pressure pump is going to get set up in here. So the intake is going to be in there, and then we're going to push the water out through drip tape into this orchard. Right now, it just kind of goes out by gravity. We have the this is the waste pipe from the bead filter. So it
Right.
just kind of goes out. We're just, we haven't set it up. So right now it's just getting the discharge water. But once we set up that pump out there, it's going to be a timed thing. So we'll have a float valve. We'll have a float valve on the tank with ag water. And then that pump will go off every day and drain out a certain amount of water to feed the orchard. And then as the water level drops, the ag water will click on and automatically fill it back up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Anybody
and-
else have any questions from Frank or Benny?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have one question about the water quality. What's the pH of your water?
yeah, so the city water or the ag water coming in is about 7. It's about neutral, sometimes a little bit higher, depending on the source. In Waimanalo, where we are right now, it's about 7.2. When we recirculate it in aquaponics, it drops. I mean, it'll drop without putting the coral in there. It'll drop to 4 over about 6 months. It'll drop really low. So we like to maintain the pH at about between 6 and 7. I know it's kind of a big range, but if we can keep it between 6 and 7, then everything seems to be happy.
Yeah, no, the range is fine for me. I wonder what's the hardness of your water? What's bringing the pH up? Is it calcium carbonate? Like ours is calcium carbonate.
Yep. Our water comes from a well and it's about, what is the 130 ppm. Does that make sense? I can't remember my units. It's over about 130. It is calcium though. That's the hardness. That's what buffers that's what brings the pH up in our groundwater is limestone.
Interesting, and you still need to add the limestone in that tank.
Yeah, exactly. So the fish, when they respire, they breathe out CO2. That drives the pH down, and then the process of nitrification, when the bacteria convert the ammonia to nitrate, that also generates
pH.
protons. Yep. So
Yep.
all of that is constantly wearing it down, and yeah, that whatever calcium is dissolved in the water initially is gone very quickly. It doesn't buffer. Yeah.
Cool. That's a great aspect of that system then, because hard water is a big problem for us.
Yeah, you don't have to
Yeah.
worry about it. Yeah, when we have, like, for instance, say we have to drain a tank, like one of these tanks, if we're going to harvest the fish out, we would actually drain the water out into the field, right? And we have to fill it up with tap water. So we'll see a transient spike in the pH, right, up to like basically tap water level. But I would say within 48 hours, it's back down to 6 again.
Wow.
So it doesn't last long. Yeah.
Oh, and I'm only speaking for myself because I think Benny would have a different situation with the water coming from the Ugam. I don't think you would have that pH. So it would be putting the limestone would be more important for you, maybe.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
All right. I don't know how this Zoom thing works, Kai, but I'm showing 7:41, and when I set it up, they were saying I have a 40-minute time limit. So
Yeah, it's
we'll
just going to
keep
cut
going.
off at one point.
We'll keep going until they throw us off, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
We're recording this, so Benny and Frank, if you want to come and take a look at it again later, I can send you a copy of it. Kai has agreed to allow us to record this. So
I'm really curious to see the plans.
the plans?
Yeah, for the setup, right? Like that bell, whatever you call that. device that controls the water
or the bell siphon.
level. Yeah, yeah, that you know that setup there. That's kind of that's new. I've never seen that before.
Well, you only use that too on an ebb and flow with the usually with a media bed. So you wouldn't use that in a raft system.
No, I like that. I'm really interested in that. Only problem is the media. I don't know I don't know what we'll use for media, but you know, because trying to bring the clay balls, it lasts a long time, so maybe it is worth it.
It's expensive. The clay balls are super expensive for us. It cost me $60 to fill up a 3x3 grow bed with the clay balls. And I have that on an ebb and flow if you want to see that that thing the way it's set up.
You can also use stuff like rice husk or again coconut coir or even biochar like charcoal.
Yeah.
You can use all that kind of stuff too as a media, you know, as a more of a renewable, locally sourced, or even like river rock. If you guys have like pebbles in the river, you know, that kind of stuff. If you're allowed to, you know, harvest that stuff.
Right.
I'm not sure if you are.
Yeah.
But I just want to show you on a smaller scale. This is the bell siphon. So we have a little handout we can show you guys. I can send it to Dave and can send you guys. But this is like experiment. Each of these grow beds is like individually has a bell siphon. So this is kind of more like backyard hobby scale for experiment. But the concept is the same. But yeah, that's what I was trying to point out is, you know, in the bigger grow bed, you don't want to have like individual bell siphons spaced out like that because they start and stop at different times. And then you get this weird water level flow in the grow bed. So you want to have a big bell siphon outside. You want to connect all the grow beds together and then have a common drain come out and have one big one outside that regulates the ebb and flow.
Right.
Yep. Cool.
Awesome. Okay. Anybody have any other questions?
I have one more. Have you tried using gravel for your beds?
Yeah, the like this kind, this blue rock.
Oh,
the blue rock doesn't
Okay.
work for it. What happens is it locks together when you start to ebb and flow, and then you can't even plant in it. It gets really solid. So you want something that's more round in shape, and you don't want to do all coral because your pH will be too high.
Right.
Yeah. So you got to find like volcanic rock is good, or clay, or again some kind of, you know, plant inert plant material, or like coconut coir, or rice husk, or corn husk, or even biochar, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of different options. Just you want it to be inert, not really have any kind of chemical properties, just be kind of neutral, and then a lot of surface area, and then hopefully cheap. You know, if it's something like coir, you're gonna have to replace it more often than something like the clay balls, right?
Yep.
Is there a company in Hawaii that will sell bulk lava rock?
Yeah, there is actually. They'll sell it by the container.
Cinder? Is that
cinder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really nice stuff.
Yeah. Actually, for these systems, we actually have a couple of different kinds of. I'm trying to find a piece on the ground. We have this two types. We have sort of this red and this black, and they're basically the same, but we get the red cut for some reason. That's from Maui Island, and that one comes in a really big chunk. So we like to put the bigger chunks on the bottom and then fill the finer stuff on the top, so that the water, you know, the ebb and flow works better. You get the complete draining of the water towards the bottom. You don't get it all clogged up on the bottom.
Right.
Could you send me a source in Hawaii for the lava rock, the cinder?
Yeah, definitely. I can.
All right, great. All right.
Yeah, it may or may not end up being cheaper than the clay balls, though. I'm not sure, but I'll definitely send it to you. Yep.
Well, I tell you what, the clay balls, the ones I got, one bag, which was maybe a 50-pound bag, cost me $30.
Woo.
So yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's pretty expensive. And I'm pretty sure that came in from China.
Yeah, but even that, Dave, if we could get it by container load, we might be able to work that, something. Because you're talking about what, a 5-year lifespan at minimum for the material?
So, right. And I will say this, that's right. The clay balls will last longer than the cinder, for sure.
Yeah.
The problem with the cinder is it's great. Like it's got a lot of surface area, right?
Yep.
But you can see the smaller pieces here.
Yeah.
It starts to break apart over time. It grinds on itself. So yeah, I would say the cinder probably has a 5-year life, and I would say the clay ball is probably, I mean, it's hard to say, but they last significantly longer than that. Maybe
Oh,
even
yeah,
15,
longer.
15, 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because they're already they're cured, they're baked, right? And then they become these kind of puff balls, and they
Right.
don't really have any edges to catch on each other, and they don't chip or anything like that. So it is a longer term investment, I think, for the clay ball. I mean, it's hard to say. Yeah, maybe the cinder is cheaper, and it might actually have better qualities in terms of building soil longer term, just because it is kind of a soil. But the synthetic balls might last longer, and
Yeah,
you know,
but I would think the fact that it erodes, you would have an accumulation of fine material towards the bottom of that bed. There we go.
Yeah, and well,
right.
in my grow bed experience, the clay balls, besides being expensive, is they're buoyant. And so
Mm,
when the tank ends up refilling, it kind of shifts the plants around. And then when it drains, it
uh,
does the same thing. It has a little shifting to it. So the plants, the ones I planted in the cubes, I didn't have a little net pot around them. I just planted the cube straight down. So the plants were always shifting one way or the other, and then, end up tipping over. And it's a pain in the ass to try to go in there and straighten them up and move those clay balls around again. And so that was
yeah.
one early feature that I didn't particularly care for the clay balls.
I saw the clay balls in Rhoda they're using beds, the plastic cement mixing tubs.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're just planting directly in the beds. They're not planting into small containers. So they have no problem with it. I mean, maybe that's the rate of water exchange that's causing the turbulence, no?
Could be. And
It,
on the ebb and flow, it's going to drain out pretty quick.
it might also be the quality of the balls too. I mean, from China,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's possible that there's different quality, and there's a bunch of different clay ball products out there now. And I'm just not sure. I'm not too familiar with them, to be honest. So I don't know too much about them. But
Have you used the coconut coir a lot in the media beds?
yeah, well, not as the primary media yet, but working with a collaborator in Vietnam that does use it primarily as their media. So I was just going to show you, these are some of the blocks that we get in dehydrated coconut coir. So you can get these as in bulk on pallets, and then you just hydrate it, and it turns into this huge mass. So we're gonna definitely play around with this stuff pretty soon here. So I'll have an answer for you pretty soon about how well it does, but it definitely works well on a small scale with the seedlings. It works really well.
Yeah,
I know it would
be concerned about clogging, with the sediment coming in, the waste coming in, and because the core is pretty fine compared to the rocks.
That's right. And so maybe a solution is a mixture of the cinder and the coir or something like that, or even clay balls and coir or something. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about the rate of decomposition there, and having a 2-inch layer of pudding at the bottom of your beds that doesn't get a lot of air exchange, and so I'm more concerned about that, really. But
Yeah.
for short term, but it's not cheap either for us here. The core is it's pretty expensive stuff. Although if we bring it in ourselves by the container, that might change, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Still a chunk of money to put up front. And you keep putting it up front. Whereas with the clay balls, you put it up front one time and yeah. Anyway, yeah. Alternatives to look at.
Yep.
Here for us to buy things from China, I found it's a lot better to find a local small company who can bring it in for you. And this is just in terms of the purchasing
Right. Yeah.
protocols at the university and government, right? They'd much rather purchase from a vendor who is on their list of vendors. So if you get a
Right.
local company to do the importing for you, you avoid all of that foreign product stuff, and almost everything you're ordering out of the mainland's coming from China anyway.
Yeah.
You're paying the additional shipping to get it here. So
Right.
yeah. So any other questions? Benny, you have anything you want to?
Yeah, just wanted to find out the overall cost benefit factor, like, the total cost of implementing this with all the facilities and the benefits from economical point of view.
Yeah, we did so I don't have an exact number, and I guess it's gonna vary probably from over here to you guys too, but these two with these two fish tanks, this system here with labor, when we were using the hollow tile stack for the legs, with all the PVC and everything, came out to about 7,000 US for these two systems. And that's 48 feet. I don't have the exact numbers with me right now, but 48 feet long, 4 foot wide, whatever that square area is. You can calculate the turnover was just as fast in the field for like pak choy or leafy greens. So whatever that surface area is, you can calculate however much yield you would get per year. We haven't done that we're working on that, but it definitely over 5 years, it certainly paid for itself. That's for sure. At least, I mean, I'm sure it would have made money if we had kept going, but I don't have the exact numbers.
Yeah, I think that's important information that we're trying to get, and even in my project that's trying to get off the ground here, the economic analysis is the critical part, and what's the break-even size, of the system. So
what we did.
Go ahead.
Sorry, real quick. I was gonna say, for single systems, I don't know if I would go much bigger than this. I know there's people that go really big, but we did find at Mari's Gardens that there was a size where it got too big. They were doing, like, they had a 30,000 gallon fish tank with 10 100-foot grow beds. That was big, and that was too big. It ended up being kind of hard to manage. So smaller modular, I think the one that they kind of ended up with at Mari's was like a 3,000 or 4,000 gallon fish tank with 4 of these size grow beds, 4 of these 48-foot grow beds was kind of like the maximum size you want to go for one system. And then if you want to just have a bigger farm, you just make multiple systems. Yeah.
Kai, where did you get your grow bed, those plastic tanks? Is that?
Yeah. So these we can't get these anymore. We get them from the feed supply store in Waimanalo, but these tanks we can get. These are actually injection molded. They were ordered by. Does he have his name on it? Where is it? So the feed supply company actually has these specifically made in the Midwest. So we can get these in bulk and they're stackable. So I could actually ship you these things if you're interested in them. They're a little pricey though, but they're solid, you know, HDPE.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen some prices coming out of the Midwest for those. Yeah, they're really pricey. Plus, we got all that added shipping and, you know, trucking to the West Coast and then shipping out. So,
Mm.
Right. Yeah. But again, the nice thing is that they're all stackable. So the
Right.
cost isn't, you know, it's not as
Yeah.
much as the ones that kind of fit on top of each other.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I can anyway, if you're interested in these, I can help you get them if you want.
All right.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and again, yeah, the cost analysis, we're, you know, yeah, we're working on it, but I guess you're right, it's going to vary even within the state here. It's going to vary based on material costs. Different islands have different costs, so it's hard to say what it is, right? Did I send you? Did you ever see that Auburn, Dave? That Auburn presentation? I think it was in December or January, where they did the whole cost analysis on their decoupled system at Auburn University with the
No.
cucumbers. Okay, I'll send you a link to that. That's really cool. That broke it down. So they have their recirculating aquaculture tilapia system, and then they have a greenhouse in a decoupled system where they had Dutch bucket, so potted with I think it's with the clay balls, potted cucumber plants, and they were able to, they tracked all of the electrical use, the feed, the labor, everything, and they were able to show that it makes money just with that. So I'll send that to you.
Yeah, great.
So you can
Thank
see
you.
that.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
Dave, you know, that's the major point that I have been deliberating with the governor's office, legislature, the actual costs in producing things in Guam and different areas. Because, you know, I am really pushing for this administration and current legislature to do what is necessary to revitalize the agricultural industry in Guam, whether it's aquaculture or livestock, whatever it is. We have to be very, very precise of the actual cost in doing business in Guam, because nobody right now, anywhere, that is going to be willing to invest for commercial production unless the actual cost of doing business in Guam is as much as possible accurate. And to address that, I'm looking for legislation with imports and what they do with the business industry, like the hotel industry, you know, the qualified where we can guarantee producer that if you, let's say, have 5 acres of aquaculture farm, we will practically guarantee you that whatever investment you have there, with any disaster happening, like the natural disaster, the impact of import of effect of marketing, all those bring, you know, resources, agencies from the U.S., local government, everybody coming together and doing that, then we will be in the right direction to truly address what we are trying to do right now with this hydroponic system, recycling system. Because right now, in our farm, you know, you've seen our farm, we're looking like 30 acres or so of aquaculture, a farm, and more. So what I'm trying to do is use this mold system, another system, where I can pump water to 1 or 3 half-acre ponds and recycle that nutrient to irrigate my pasture, irrigate my banana fields, irrigate the fruit trees and vegetations. And our location, you're familiar with it, Dave and Frank. Some are on the valley, some are up on the hill. So I'm looking at, we already have started an experiment area where the aquaculture farm is up on the hill. So our plan from the beginning is to do a gravity flow for these upper ponds up on the hill to flow it through the farm, the plantation of bananas and pastures and all those good things that will happen through recycling, because we're very mindful, because we pump water from the stream and river. So we want to pump it into the ponds, use the water, then whatever water we use, we want to recycle it, irrigate the pasture, the plants and everything. And whatever excess, we want to be able to drain it as clean as we got it or cleaner. So those are the systems that I'm looking at, but we need to start small, like this, and then for different kinds of farmers will be addressed. But I'm looking at, my family farm can really do good for the people of Guam, and with the environment and with these systems that have been introduced by the University of Guam, Hawaii, everywhere around the world. So for us to be successful in our endeavor, with this small system into a bigger system, from small farmers to bigger farmers, where everybody are incorporated and will benefit one way or another. So those are the things that I'm really zeroing in right now. I'm looking for justification. We need a true agricultural board of directors. I'm looking at all those good things that I have seen in Guam with the University of Guam, College of Agriculture, and Latin. We still have good people in there. And it looks like you and Frank are last of the Mohicans in there right now at the university. But we have the golden opportunity to do something of what we have learned and really incorporate this thing. But we really need to address the huge picture that have caused the devastation of the agricultural producers in Guam, because we have the expertise in Guam, we have the resources, especially when it comes to agriculture. I can speak for myself and my family. I never imagined that I or my family will be expert in producing shrimp, tilapia, bangus, crabs, and lapu-lapu. But because of all those impacts that I just finished saying, were the cause of the downfall of our farm. So unless we have people like me speaking up on the cause of the problems and how we can fix it, as a whole, because the biggest impact, again, is the dwindling, what is called technical assistance that we used to enjoy in Guam, all the good resources from the local or federal government. But the biggest factor is the marketing, the imports. So we have good senators in there now that are really listening, and hopefully you will help us address this. Because unless we address this huge impact, we're not going to get anywhere but down.
Yeah, that's great, Benny. You know what, I think that, as you were talking about all of that, I'm looking at right now what we're doing, this whole Zoom and this whole interactive technology that we're forced to use because of the pandemic is really, I think, a blessing, because now we can all access the experts in Hawaii or in Indonesia or Philippines or anywhere where we make these connections, and between all of Frank's connections, yours in other areas, mine, and the other agents at Ag, and even Kai, we can channel through Kai and get somebody in Auburn maybe to schedule a meeting and talk about this economic analysis from their area. But at least we'll have all the categories of, hey, this is what it costs in Auburn, what does it cost in Guam? And let's figure all of that out. But a big issue with the producers, ag, livestock, aquaculture, and how it relates to the government is, hey, you guys need to point the government in the right direction, because when I came back into Sea Grant, and went down to Gita for the aquaculture task force meetings, and they wanted to stimulate the industry, but they wanted to put a bunch of backyard systems into people's family homes, which is all good and well, but it's not going to stimulate an industry. So what are you saying and what are you thinking and what are you doing? They're completely different things. Now, the strength of the aquaculture producers group that we're trying to put together now, the stakeholder group, I think is critical in all of the different areas in ag. So I think all of the crop producers need to get a really strong producer group and direct what the university needs to do in research, direct what Gita needs to do in providing economic development funding and the whole scenario, because, you know, up at the university, we're just too smart to know what we're doing.
Thank you, Dave, for that. You know, I really welcome you coming back, and seeing Frank Cruz, I really welcome you because I hear you loud and clear. I was on that task force, and I seem to be the outsider of the task force. It seemed like I do not belong there. I was made to feel like I am a hindrance to their goal or your objective. I recruited Dr. Lee Udin to do strategic planning for the two co-chairs. And we submitted it to them, but then as we go along, we never hear about our strategic plan, goals and objectives that Lee Udin and I had drafted and submitted to the task force chairs for consideration and deliberation. It was never deliberated. It was never put on the agenda. And I tried several times to put it up on the agenda. Then I ended up seems to be the lone person pursuing that, what the task force is supposed to be doing for the benefit of the aquaculture people in Guam and the industry. So as of now, I really do not even know what's the status of the aquaculture task force. I have requested several up-to-date status on it. I have not heard anything.
Yeah, I'll get back to you a little bit on that, Benny, later on, because Melvin, I guess that Gita is kind of taking the reins of the task force. And so he promised me an update. But at this point, let me let Kai go.
All right, thank you very much.
He's in his car and
Oh, yes. Yeah, I apologize.
Get distracted.
No, I apologize. I don't mean to. I just had to. I have another meeting I got to get to physically right now. So we can keep talking.
We're detracting into other things locally, and I don't want to keep you from.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Doing other things, but yeah, thanks so much, Kai. We really appreciate the talk and tour, kind of thing. So
anytime.
I'm hoping we can set up more later on in other aspects, and even with your contacts in the ag area, because I know Frank's got a lot of contacts in Hawaii as well, and even Benny, and so we can actually.
Well, I don't know. They're all, Dave, they're all like us. They're all retired, I think.
That's okay. Well, the retired guys always come back, you know, because they get bored at home. And then we can, you know, eventually get out into the Big Island and out to the Pakalolo fields and as a break from the humdrum.
Yeah.
But thank you, Kai. We really appreciate this. We'll let you go now. So
no problem.
Have a good one.
Thanks for having me. Nice to see you guys.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Adios.
Adios.
Okay, Frank and Benny, I don't know. You guys have anything else you want to bring up? I'm trying to schedule the next meeting for the stakeholders for next week, Wednesday. So please send me a message or email me if that's a good day and what time of the day might be good. Right now, my whole day is open, so I can adjust a meeting schedule for any time. But I want to make sure and get people in there.
Participants all from Guam, Dave?
What's that?
Are the participants going to be all from Guam or what islands?
We are probably actually going to have a Zoom participant from Hawaii, Tori Spence. She's with the NOAA office over there, and particularly with permitting and things like that. And so she's got a lot of background in the ocean cage system. And NOAA right now is putting out we call it a PEIS, environmental impact statement for the different islands and kind of a general format. And so we've identified 90% of our shoreline as possible areas for cage culture use. And so once they get that PIS up, they're going to release it out for public comment, and then we'll go from there. But she'll talk more about that. She's agreed to come on to a Zoom in our next meeting and talk about that. And then I'm hoping to have like NRCS and FSA, Farm Service Agency, come in to kind of talk about what kind of federal support is available for aquaculture.
Is this for next week, Dave?
This would be for next week, Wednesday, tentatively. I have to confirm that with Lee and get the room set up. Is
Okay.
that a good day for you?
It is, if you're gonna have people from Hawaii, then it's probably better to have it before 12 noon, right? Or by noon.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
So yeah, anytime between 10 to 3 o'clock or 12 is fine with me.
Okay.
But
Yeah, that's-
people from Hawaii.
Let me confirm the time with our Hawaii rep
Yeah.
and see what's best for her. Because I know she does some Zoom meetings out of her home as well. And so,
I think Gita will be good to have on the. Are you invite Gita?
Gita, I will invite Melvin. It's kind of, well, I don't know if he'll necessarily want to come. We've had Gita in there and Department of Ag already.
Okay.
And I'm just kind of trying to filter through all the agencies so they can give a breakdown of how they can support or what their issues are with aquaculture. Because after next week's meeting, I want to pull in EPA and Army Corps and start getting down with, what are the constraints? Where's the roadblock for aquaculture development in terms of the regulatory aspects? And then we move forward from there with different things. But I need you guys to tell me, hey, what do we want to discuss on the next meeting? I'm just kind of winging it myself through initially the support groups, and then we get into the regulatory groups, and then see where we stand. But in the meantime, the aquaculture producers group really needs to strengthen itself and get formalized. And that way you can become a real voice straight up to the governor's office or into the task force meeting and say, hey, I represent this whole group, not just Benny St. Nicholas or not just
Right.
Bill McDonald.
Yeah, thank you for doing this, Dave and Frank, because we really need these issues to be addressed. And the thing that I'm bringing up, I don't know if you will cover everything, but I'm mentioning technical assistance that we used to enjoy here in Guam, from the USDA and from the university and from the Department of Agriculture. And of course, at that time, the Department of Commerce. So like all the agencies were coordinated to address farmers' issue and not just College of Agriculture, not just GIDA, but even with EPA, to help out the producers. So I don't know if you want to just say that as a technical assistance or governmental resources for farmers, or producers. What would be a better, broader terminology to bring out those things that I'm mentioning, And also remember I mentioned earlier about the structure of the Department of Agriculture, it needs to really be restructured. We have a governing board, hire and fire director of agriculture, require specific qualification for directors and deputy directors. Those are the things I'm looking at to be addressed. and I'm working with Senator Rizal, so it'd be good to invite him or a representative for all of our meetings, so that, because I'm always going back. I just met Clint Rizal last week, and I told him that the current Agriculture Board of Commissioners must be amended so it has a true governing board for the Department of Agriculture, similar to Board of Education, similar to Airport Board, Commercial Board. Unless you have that, my past friends have told me they resigned from it because they seem to be advisors only to the Director of Agriculture, which is true. And I talked to Lynn Rodriguez, I says, no, Benny, everything is there. No worries. I said, send me a copy there. Maybe they have revised it. I look at the top, still the same. The Agriculture Board of Commissioners shall work with the Director of Agriculture. Right there, the first word. Then it's the second paragraph, it says, the Director of Agriculture shall serve as executive secretary to the, so it's a conflicting, it's not clear. But the way it is does an advisory role.
Maybe as a broader topic, Benny, we can approach Lee Udine and say, hey, the college needs to do a needs assessment. I don't know when the last needs assessment was done, but it's obviously, at least in aquaculture, it's grossly overdue. The aquaculture development plan really needs to be updated because everything's different. And so just getting Lee to agree to do a needs assessment, which might take 2 weeks, 3 or 4 group meetings for all the different sectors to come in and lay out what's really needed. And so everybody's got their own separate issues, but they need to come together and say, here's the top 10 needs for the ag industry, and here's the top 10 needs for the aquaculture guys, and here's the top 10 needs for livestock and all of that. But that's not being done that I've seen in the 9 or 10 months that I've been back on board. So we can drive it that way, Benny.
Yes, thank you for that. And I'm also looking if anyone can the university can help me in amending the current agricultural board so that it will have that that the board of directors or the agriculture board will have the necessary power and authority to do justice as a board member to really address the issues, because until we have that, I don't think anything's going to change with the department. But at least if we have a good law that authorizes the agriculture board of directors to do what a board of directors shall do in regards to hiring and firing directors like other directors. So I'm asking, is anyone that can help me look at the current agriculture board of directors and help me make amendments to that, and I will submit it to Senator Rogel and other senators to look at, because it looks like they're just going to have the governor appoint members to the Agriculture Board of Commissioners now, and now amendments to the current Agriculture Board of Directors as written way back.
Yeah, well, that's something a little bit higher up, I think, than
what
we're looking at. But we can go to Lee Udine and say, hey, can you help us do this? What faculty member under the college can assist with that sort of thing?
I'll give him a call and ask him that. Thank you.
Okay.
Dave, I think the idea of getting a needs assessment will help direct efforts towards what Benny's going after, if that shows up as one of the outcomes of a needs assessment. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, we need,
yeah.
it
I
needs to
mean,
come
it's
from the producers, right? If it comes from
it's
the
a lot more.
producers, then Lee has to listen and the
Yeah,
governor has to listen. And we can
the only
even,
problem is he gonna listen to the request to try to do a decent needs assessment, you know, to put some resources into getting the organization going, and then somebody writing it up, somebody finishing the darn doc, you know, finishing it and carrying it through to whatever it's going to take. Legislation, as an example, in the case of the board of commissioners or whatever they're called. But I want to bring one more thing up that's currently happening. Right now, GWA is they've come to our nursery and told us that we have to install certain backflow preventer and stuff like that. And there's an individual at GWA who's putting together or has put together a bunch of rules and regulations that I don't know where their legislation is coming from or where their stuff. I mean, I totally understand protecting the water system, but some of this stuff is getting, I think, out of hand. You know, it's just adding costs to areas that don't, where we really can't afford to put another penny more into, you know what I mean? Water
Yeah.
is already one of the most expensive inputs in agriculture. And when you start adding tacking on things that raises the price of water, it just makes it prohibitive even more.
yeah. Oh, I know what you mean. I mean, they're coming on campus and, you know, I'm getting things from Austin and from Lee saying, hey, the GWA's on campus. They're looking at all the water faucets and anywhere the water's being used, and they want backflow preventers on everything. And I thought, well, I don't have anything that's attached to the water system except for a hose, you know, so there's no solid attachment into my tanks. There's nothing but
Right.
backflow. But yeah, just the fact that they're coming on doing that was kind of a shock. Like, wow.
Yeah.
So-
This is kind of out of the realm of the aquaculture guys, but at the university, I don't know why isn't maintenance directed towards taking care of whatever those rules and regulations rather than the individual houses or the individual hosts, bib users, you know what I mean?
yeah, I don't know. Maybe the
You got
GWA guy is
everybody
being,
uses a garden hose, so that should be part of the landlord's obligations, I would think. Yeah.
yeah. Well, we need to identify who
Anyway.
this GWA guy is, and
I think that my point is that it's important for Benny and others to know that this stuff is happening, and GWA is they're not even, I haven't heard anything about a public hearing or anything like that. It's just they want people to start complying with some new regulations that they've put out.
yeah, you know, I think they fall under that umbrella, under the law that, well, this department is authorized to make the rules and regulations for blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
And
Something to do with
before,
biosecurity or something, you know.
yeah.
can I have both of you your current cell phone number, because I may have a different cell phone for you, Frank?
Mine hasn't changed. It's 689 1781
689
Ungan
689 what?
1781 Unu Sheti Otsu Unu.
What about you, Dave?
727-5655.
Okay, sometimes it's easier to go on WhatsApp.
Please.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like to have a regular, constant, communication with both of you. And I know that both of you are true allies to the farmers and farms. So yeah, I'm very glad to be connecting again with you. I have to go now and take care of my caramels. I'm pasturing several of them right now. The rest are in the pasture, so I have to go out there and take care of them.
How's
Right
your
on,
big
Benny.
caramel?
Opportunity. Hey, I look forward for the continual dialogue, whether through
Yeah.
meeting or no meeting.
Yeah.
So
I will-
Wednesday, right? Wednesday before lunch. sometime.
So can we look at
Morning.
10 o'clock next Wednesday?
10 is fine for me.
Okay, let's try 10.
Dave,
Okay,
you still there?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, there you are.
Okay, I'll get back
All
to you
right.
guys for our next big shindig and we'll go from there, but definitely use that WhatsApp to drop me any comments or suggestions. And
Okay.
we'll keep up to date that way.
Okay,
All right,
thank you
I'm
very
gonna
much.
shut this down. Thanks for coming, you guys. Take care.
Bye.
I'm gonna take these bananas.